Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Angela Redding, and I work in the office of the city manager for the city of Forest Park. And I would like to thank you for coming out tonight here to hear the great information that Superintendent Beasley will be sharing with us tonight. And so at this time, I would not prolong the time. I would like to introduce and ask Superintendent Beasley to come forward.
Thank you, Ms. Rainey. Thank you so much for this opportunity and for allowing us to use this beautiful facility. It's good to be here in the city of Forest Park. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It's been a long day, but a good day. Good day. Thank you for taking time to be with us on today. I see some familiar faces. Always good to see familiar faces, some new faces. But we appreciate all of you for being here on today. We want to at least recognize our principals and administrators who are here. I see some sitting on the back row over there. Good to see you, Principal Ross of Babb Middle School. And is it Babb?
Rex Mill.
Rex Mill, that's right. Rex Mill Middle. Give me your last name.
Barnes.
Mr. Barnes. Thank you, Mr. Barnes. Rex Mill Middle School. But we appreciate our administrators. And real quickly, I'd just like to introduce our team. We have our interpreters over here, Spanish and Vietnamese interpreters. Glad to have you all here on today. Thank you for being here. And very quickly, I guess I can turn this on, right? Testing. Good. All right, let's introduce the staff that we have here. We've got our Deputy Superintendent for School Leadership and Improvement, Dr. Simpson. You all know Ms. Dawkins, our Communications Officer. You've got our Safety and Security Chief, Chief Traywick. We've got our Deputy Superintendent for Student Support Services and Federal Programs, Dr. Sandra Nunez. Our Chief Human Resource Officer, Dr. Jamie Wilson. Of course, we've got our communications crew at the table. Mr. White back there, our photographer, and the video guy over here. He's always on the video. We appreciate it. Appreciate all of you all for being here today. Very quickly, it seems like I have all new faces here today. Parents, are you here? Let's see who the parents are. I see a familiar face back there. So I know you've been to a session, and I don't know if I've ever seen this new parent or community member at a parent community member. Say you don't, one or the other, right? We're glad to have you. Glad to have you. Very good. Glad to have you. And of course, we see our students sit back there. Glad to have you. So we'll go ahead and get started. Basically, we'll share the areas of focus, things that we're working on, and then we'll give you an opportunity for questions and answers, or for you to share any feedback that you may have. Hopefully you received just a little visual to help guide the conversation, if you will. There are 5 areas of focus that we have. The first one is really our way of saying instruction, academically challenging and safe environments, where basically we want to ensure that in every classroom our students are getting a rich, quality instructional experience where they're learning the content standards and teachers are teaching the standards at the level of rigor of the standard. It's important. You say, how do you improve achievement? How do you achieve or arrive at higher levels of performance? It always begins with instruction, period. And if you're talking about anything other than instruction, you're not going to get there very quickly. If you do get there, it won't be sustained. So instruction is the key. And things that we're doing, we've implemented some high impact instructional practices in all content areas, all subject areas, all grade levels. We have, relative to a safe environment, this year we've implemented a tip line in our school app, and hopefully all of you have the school app on your phone. Any student, anyone for that matter, can send us a tip. If they're bullying a weapon in the school, or they have a tip that they believe will help a situation improve, or if they feel like they need some assistance themselves, a personal matter, they have an issue with an employee, they can always submit the information on the tip line, and it goes directly to someone on the campus and our safety and security department to be addressed. And so that's one effort among others that we have instituted to improve the safety and security on our campuses. Of course, our student code of conduct is always a tool that we use to convey high expectations for students and their behavior, and it outlines very succinctly the opportunities that are provided to us as adults to help correct, if you will, our students when they misbehave. Our goal is to help our students navigate life and not to be too punitive, but we want to hold them to high expectations. So academically challenging and safe environments. Number one, improving instruction, ensuring that we have safe schools and classrooms. Number two, we're providing academic and wraparound support, and this one is one that I think is still being framed out and massaged a little bit relative to academic performance. We just received approval last Monday from our board to purchase an online tool in reading and math that will allow our students who are not proficient, but they're not at the lowest level, the beginning level, they're somewhere in the middle, developing level, but they're not necessarily on reading and math, on grade level in reading and math. So we purchased a tool that we are planning to roll out in January of next year that will allow these students to spend time online working on their deficits in reading and math. So we believe that in addition to what teachers are doing in the classroom, plus the consistent use of this tool to address the students at the level that they're on, provide instruction electronically or adaptively, and then elevate them to achieve the grade level mastery that we'd like them to achieve, we believe that we will have more students performing at the proficient and distinguished levels. We are pleased to share that we're constantly working to improve our student support services, whether it be by providing counseling, whether we're providing services to help students receive services for special education, whether it be addressing any medical concerns that may impact what happens to the student or their learning process in the classroom. It could be they need eyeglasses. Something as simple as eyeglasses may prevent students from reading or at least seeing what they need to read. And so we're working to address any impacts that we can as a school system through partnerships address to mitigate the impact of these occurrences on how students learn in the classroom. And lastly, we're working to define and to implement training in the areas of social emotional learning, restorative justice practices throughout our district. And that's just work that we've got to do on an ongoing basis. Clearly, our goal is to ensure that if there are things happening outside the classroom, that we lessen the impact of those things on student learning in the classroom. And as you well know, that's just ongoing work. Everything that we deal with that students bring into the classroom is not because of something that happened at school. There are many things that happen at home. But our goal is to help students navigate those challenges so they can be successful academically. Thirdly, we're working to improve professional development. That means that we are training, we are ensuring that we're all involved in training at every level and every position. In particular, our teachers are involved in training relative to content. If you teach science, you need to know what science. And so while we have individuals who have degrees in the content areas or they have degrees on the levels in which they teach, we know that the more we become informed and become knowledgeable of our content, and the better we combine that with some strategies, what we call oftentimes pedagogy, we know that our students are likely to learn at higher levels. And so our commitment is to ensure that professional learning is occurring in all schools across our school system. And then of course, leadership. We recognize that in order for schools to improve, there should be a leader who understands the improvement process, who works diligently with the faculty, the staff, the parents, the students, and all to ensure that the school is going in the right direction. High-performing schools occur when you have principals who understand what it takes to be a high-performing school. And so our goal is to train up, coach up, support up, if you will, all of our principals to the extent that every school in our district is considered, identified as a high-performing school. And we've got work to do, but I anticipate we are going in the right direction. The next area is family and community engagement, including governmental relationships and partnerships. Our goal here is just to get our community engaged, realizing that if we're going to be, and we will be, a high-performing community, we've got to get our families engaged and involved in this educational process. They've got to be partners with teachers and principals at the classroom level, the school level, and of course with those of us at the central office level. We're on the same team. We're going in the same direction. I just dismiss and reject this us versus them mentality. High-performing communities do not submit to that. High-performing communities work together because they understand parents can't do this all alone, teachers can't do it all alone, principals can't do it all alone, superintendent can't do it all alone, central office people can't do it all alone. All of us are on a team. We may have to play different positions, but when you put us all together and if everyone plays their position and plays their position well, then we can have a winning team. And so that is very important. We're working with our elected officials. That's why we're here, Ms. Redding. We have partnerships with our elected officials because we recognize that this school system is a major component of the economic viability of this county. It is important that we get our school system at high levels, if you will. And lastly, communications, public relations, and marketing. What do you mean? Well, you just got to know how to tell your story. And if you don't tell your story, please don't expect anyone else to. If you don't know your successes or the areas that you've improved in, and if you don't communicate those successes, then by all means don't expect anyone else to come and do that for you. And so we have a very lively effort, if you will, of communicating what's going on in the school system, informing our parents using various platforms, whether it be Infinite Campus, our website, social media, Twitter, Facebook, etc. If you want to know, you can know today. If you don't know, that's probably because you're not reading, because the information is there. If parents are checking grades, they have access to all district level announcements. They're all posted in Infinite Campus. And I would submit to you, if you have a child in K-12 education in this school system, you should be what? Checking grades. So if you're doing that, when you go in to check those grades, you'll also see district level announcements. It's important. You say, well, I don't go in every day. Neither did I. And I don't think you necessarily have to do it every day. But I know even with our app, you can set up thresholds, and they'll basically send you a message if your child makes a grade below that threshold. So there's a way. You don't have to check every day. You can use the tools to help you to monitor your child's progress. And then, of course, if you log into Infinite Campus, if you have a question for a teacher, you can always email teachers within that platform. And so we are encouraging our parents to communicate. We're encouraging all of us to stay informed and to share the progress that we're making in our school system. Remember this, as we work to hire and recruit teachers, Clayton County is right here in the metro area, which means that we compete with all the other metro districts. When candidates look, those who are graduating from college and those who are looking to move into the metro Atlanta area, or those who are employed in one school system but want to find another school system to work for, when they look in the metro area, what they read about our school system matters. It informs their decisions. And if we want quality teachers and individuals who will come and teach our children, then we need to make sure that they see good messages about our children. If all we put out are bad messages about our children, then don't expect when folk don't want to teach your children. Does that make sense? It's just logical to me. If you want good teachers, if you want families to move into your community, then we've got to be a community that sends out a positive message. Because I can tell you this, people are not looking to move in communities, failing communities. People want to move in successful what? Communities. And our goal is to ensure that we are a success story in the state of Georgia, in the metro area. You say, well, what are we doing? How do we know? We know we're moving in the right direction. Our data is moving us. Grad rate is increasing. Our state score, CCRPI, College and Career Ready Performance Index score, has increased almost 4 points, the most growth we've had since it was instituted in 2012 from one year to the next. We know that we were potentially preparing to deal with possibly 21 schools on the governor's list. We ended up with only one school on the governor's list. And that school had the highest score on the governor's list for this year. So we know we're doing the right work. And I anticipate that at the rate that one elementary school is improving, they will be absent the list this time next year. we know we're going in the right direction. But again, if we don't know our story, don't expect anyone else to what? To know it. Some things that we're doing that are not necessarily listed on here, we are implementing and aligning our career pathways. It's very important for parents to know, and I've been working with the business community, the chamber and others to ensure we get the word out. People all, do we have career pathways? I am amazed that people still ask that question. Of course we do. We're a modern high school in Metro Atlanta in the 21st century. Why would we not have career pathways? And so we've been making sure we push the word out there. We've sent to our parents our documents that have all the career pathways identified by school, etc. We've shared it with our business community, and we are working to align our career pathways to ensure that we produce students who are prepared to go into jobs that will be expected to exist by the time they graduate from high school, whether in the next few years or 5 to 10 years out. It's important that we understand that we need more of our students to take advantage of the career pathways we have. Why is that important? As we work to improve grad rate, remember this. Students who participate in a career pathway, they graduate at a 92% rate versus the overall general population who graduates right now in Clayton at a 69.9% rate. Which means I need students in career pathways. Does that make sense? Yes. Listen, if you're in a career pathway, the grad rate, can you complete a pathway? The grad rate is 92% for Clayton. It makes sense to me that every parent in this system should make sure their child is in some type of pathway, whether it be an academic pathway, a career tech pathway, or a combination of pathways. They should be in pathways. It just makes a lot of logical sense to me. It's important that we understand that we're aligning the pathways. You should know that at Mundy's Mill High School and Drew High School, we are implementing this year the Firefighter EMT pathway. So when our students graduate who are currently in those programs, they can walk into a job making $40,000 plus a year as firefighters right here in Clayton County. So we are implementing those two programs this year. We're implementing this year we implemented the film and theater pathway at Mundy's Mill High School. We connected that school and program to the film and theater industry that exists here in Georgia. And so there's no reason why our students shouldn't have access to the many jobs and opportunities that exist in that industry if they're so inclined to want. And they don't necessarily have to just act. There are many support jobs, technical jobs that are needed in that industry, high-paying jobs. And so we want to ensure that our kids have access to that. We're working this year, we're planning to implement next school year, in August of next year, 2 aviation programs, pathways, one at Morrow High School and one at North Clayton High School. So we're excited about that as well. Makes no sense that we host the world's busiest airport and we don't have an aviation program. That's just illogical again. And so we're fixing that. And so we're excited. And that, what does that mean? Students will be able to take coursework if they want to be pilots, but you all know everybody doesn't desire to fly a plane. Some kids want to just work on the planes. And so they'll be able to do that. And some kids don't want to fly nor work on the plane. They just want to maybe work for Delta and be a ticket agent or whatever. It's okay. There are many pathways. And we want our children to be able to navigate successfully those pathways. And we are working to implement next year as well a new political leadership pathway at Jonesboro High School. You excited about that one? And you say, what is that one for? Well, if you don't know what's going on around you politically, we want to train our young people to understand and how to navigate and run for office at the local, state, federal, and international levels relative to organizations that may exist. We want our students to be involved at every level. And so that Jonesboro, they're excited about that. They have an excellent mock trial team. And so this was just a natural fit right in Jonesboro. You should know that on Monday after Thanksgiving, we'll be bringing to the board a request to consider implementation of the International Baccalaureate program again and the Cambridge programs at select schools in our school system. It's just important. I really believe in choice. I believe that every principal needs to market their school. Is that right, principal? And if you don't have something going on, you better figure out what you're going to have going on. Because people need to have choice. And you can market yourself up, or you can market yourself I'm going to say, he said down. I said out. You got to market yourself. And so we're working to ensure that every school should have something that separates it, that gives it a niche. Whether it be IB or advanced placement or some type of pathway, we expect every school. You say, why is that important? If we draw families, we support the families that are in our community, and we draw families into our community, how many know that lifts the entire community? Yeah, you want your house values to increase, don't you? Yeah, you do. Yes, you do. You may not think so, but you do. And anybody who understands the relationship wants it to increase. And so the school system is one of the vehicles to ensure that that happens. We're working with our elected officials to this end. And we understand our role, but we also know that we've got to work collaboratively with them as they do the government type things that the school system clearly cannot do on its own. I want to share that as we bring SPLOS 5, that's our special purpose local option sales tax program, SPLOS 5. We're currently in SPLOS 5, year 3 of SPLOS 5. We've got 2 more years. We are preparing in SPLOS 5 to build a new Jonesboro High School in phases. We are designing in SPLOS 5 for the new Morrow High School, which will be also located on the East Clayton campus over there with the new East Clayton Elementary School that opens in August of next year. We are working to consider land purchases for a new college and career academy that will be a part of SPLOS 6. And this college and career academy will be centrally located with very innovative career pathways that will serve all the high schools in our school system. We're excited about that. It will be a magnet for our school system. So as we bring SPLOS 5 to a close or sunset, we will sunrise on SPLOS 6. We are preparing to bring to the board on Monday after Thanksgiving the request that a timeline that would basically allow a referendum to be held in November of next year during midterm elections. And while I can't tell you how to vote, I'll tell you this, and I'm gonna always tell you the truth. If it doesn't pass, we have no other money to get to do these things that I mentioned. And so you all's work, our work would be, my work would be when I vote, I'm voting yes. I can tell you how I'm gonna vote, yes. So if the superintendent's voting yes, maybe everybody else should consider voting yes. But hey, I can't tell you how to vote. But I can tell you this, our children deserve a penny. A penny here, a penny there, a penny everywhere adds up to be millions of dollars. Millions of dollars. And I don't know of a child who doesn't deserve to go into a nice facility. And I think here in Clayton, our children deserve that. And so I don't mind, I don't miss it anyway. You don't miss it. But we recognize those beautiful schools when we drive past them and when we walk in them. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do with SPLOS 6? Where again, we're going to continue with Jonesboro because we'll start in SPLOS 5 and continue with SPLOS 6. We're going to build a new Morrow High School. We're going to build a new elementary school in the Lovejoy area, and we're going to, we were tossed around between a new North Clayton High School and a Forest Park Middle School. We've decided to move forward with the Forest Park Middle School. And we'll come back to North Clayton because the airport would have worked out its issue with that 6th runway. We didn't want to try to build a new school and we don't know what's happening with that 6th runway over there. The College and Career Academy will be a part of that SPLOS 6. And of course, we'll continue to do some renovations and HVAC issues, etc. Did I get the major things in SPLOS 6? I think I got the major things. But we'll need you all support. That's all I will say. And my vote is just one. We need everybody to go out there. And again, our goal is to put it on a referendum in November of 2018, midterm. So we'll need, and I know I will be voting midterm. So, and I hope all of you all are voting midterm. Let's see. I think I may have shared everything that I needed to share, or at least wanted to share right now. So I'll just pause here and open up the floor for any questions and comments and feedback.
Can you give me more information for the Jonesboro program? Because I have been wanting that. Oh, wow.
There,
As far as the new Jonesboro.
the new Jonesboro High School.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about, because what has been happening is they have been doing patchwork. I'm sure you know about
I
that.
mean, the facility itself.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
The high school.
Yes, ma'am.
They've been doing patchwork.
Yeah.
And I think the last budget, before you got here, they passed I think Jonesboro decided to pass because they passed something where they were just gonna paint. And
Well,
you know Jonesboro is old and it is, looking, it needs to be redone. So what do you mean by that? And
Okay.
can you elaborate on the steps?
Yes, ma'am.
And what you're gonna take?
Well, you should know that they allocated in SPLOST 5 about 23 million for Jonesboro. You can't build a new high school for 23 million in America, I don't think anywhere. And so the decision was, we had to decide, would we use the 23 million to patch it up? Or would we possibly use the 23 million and start a tear down, build up new construction in SPLOST 5 and then get the rest of the money in SPLOST 6? My recommendation to the board was don't spend 20-something million on patching up a facility that is antiquated. To me, it was just a waste of money to do it that way. So the board agreed, or will be agreeing, or appears to agree, and so we have begun to move forward with the design, build up, tear down for Jonesboro High School on the current site. And so it will be a new facility, but we've got to do it in phases. We're going to start within the next few months, and we'll continue until we get through SPLOST 6.
Where can I find the plans? Because I know I spoke to Dr. Anderson and I can't remember which high school she told me to go to, because my understanding, unless you're going with another plan because you're doing it in phases, but she told me, I can't remember what school she told me to drive by. But
Forest
it's
Park,
similar.
maybe?
Yeah, L-shaped? Was it the
Forest
L?
Park, L-shaped.
Yeah, she told me to go by there. Is that still something
You
that
can
we're
look at
looking
Forest
at?
Park. I couldn't tell you if it's going to look the same way.
Original design.
But
Okay.
it will be a new design. We'll be designing it because we want it to look.
Are you gonna open this up to the public where we can
We do
look
have
at it?
we do have a process, of course. We do have a process. So we're presenting some information for board approval in the next week or after Thanksgiving, and then once we get board approval, we'll be moving forward with that entire process, which includes community involvement, school level involvement, etc.
What's the timeline?
Our goal is, because we're starting in SPLOST 5, and once we get board approval, I want to say that the goal is by mid next year, you should see some significant movement on that campus. We've got to, deal with making sure we have a little trailer city for a while. But
Right,
that's okay, because
Yeah,
they're going to
it
get a
is.
new school. So we've got to deal with all of
that's
that.
okay.
That's
We've
okay.
been waiting for this for years. It's worth it. Thank
But
you.
always remember this, and you can always share this on the district's website. If you go under the departments for construction, we have updates on all SPLOST projects, always out there, provided consistently.
Next question. If you have a question, just raise your hand and I'll come to you. And remember to talk into the mic because we are recording and streaming live tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, you're a movie star now. Ms. Reddy?
Dr. Beasley, I don't have a question, and I hope this is the right platform. Can you provide an update on the F8A issue that the cities, the school system, as well as the county government that we're dealing with right
Okay,
now?
yes ma'am, I can. Now, the FAA, for those of you who don't know, the Federal Aviation Administration, in the year 2014, our county, and many other counties around the nation, have been collecting taxes on fuel sales. Well, in 2014, the FAA had a standing rule on the book that our county has used for 20 plus years to collect taxes on fuel sales. And we've used those taxes dollars to go into our SPLOS projects. Well, in 2014, the FAA made a rule or reinterpreted a rule to say that the money that we collect on fuel taxes cannot be used for any other purposes but aviation. We as a county, Clayton County, we don't own the airport. So the money we collect on fuel taxes can't be used for aviation because we don't own the what? The airport. Atlanta city owns the airport. And so we've been working rather aggressively within the last few months to address that issue at the federal level. We've been working to identify state remedies, and of course we've been working to identify any local remedies that we can come up with. So where are we right now? At the federal level, the Federal Aviation Administration has decided and communicated to us as of November 3rd through the Justice Department that they will not enforce the implementation of that rule as of yet until the case works its way through the federal courts. So we have sued Clayton County Public Schools, Clayton County government, and the cities in Clayton County. We are in we're called the Clayton County entities. We have sued the Federal Aviation Administration to basically get that decision reinterpreted. Let me put it that way. That litigation is slow. As you know, anything about the federal courts, that's a slow process. But while the courts are doing what they do, the Federal Aviation Administration has decided that they would not enforce the rule because they recognize that it has a negative impact on communities like Clayton County who don't own the airport. And so we're waiting on that front with the litigation to see what happens. Relative to the state remedy, we are working with the city of Atlanta to see if we have to follow that reinterpretation. We're trying to see if we can basically do a swap of money with Atlanta, where if they collect the taxes for aviation fuel, then they give us that same amount of money that we collect in taxes. We kind of give them the money, then they give us something back. There have to be some tweaks to the state law, and so our attorneys have worked to identify some bills that we would need sponsors for, and of course we'd have to build some relationships around the state because it takes more than just one delegation to get a bill passed. But we believe that this impacts Clayton and Atlanta, that we could get the support to get the bill passed. Since my appointment, we've gone to Washington. We've met with all of our elected officials, representatives, state senators. We've met with the entities in Atlanta City, and our local delegation as well. And we have support. It's just a matter of time before we get a remedy, whether through the courts, at the state level, and at the federal level. We have a few representatives, California and others who are even Representative Lewis, who sponsored a bill basically to provide an exemption for places like Clayton County who are not owners or entities that actually own the airport. And so again, even at the federal level, as you know, it's taken them a long time to even address some of the basic things relative to legislation at the federal level. The challenge that we're having is very few are in the situation that we're in Clayton. We just happen to be a unique situation wherein we host, the airport has about 4,000 acres. 3,000 plus of those acres are in Clayton County. That's very unique. I want to say Chicago may be one of the jurisdictions that have a similar challenge area in California. But we're waiting to see what happens at the federal level. If nothing else, the delay helps us because we can continue to collect and use the money, collect the taxes and use the money for our East Blocks right now. And so while the legislation at the federal level is taking its slow time, and while the litigation at the federal level is taking its slow time, we're working to implement some state level solutions. Working with Atlanta, our legal team is working with their legal team. So when the legislature begins in January, Hopefully we can get some sponsors to some bills that will give us a remedy, a pilot, payment in lieu of taxes, and we get it passed, and that may help us navigate this situation even until the courts play themselves out. Is that helpful? I didn't mention Delta in this, as you all noticed, but Delta is one of the pushers behind this. And so I'm trying to, build a good rapport with Delta and let them know we can't do things to hurt children. Delta advertises over $1 billion in profits every year. And believe you me, $9 million a year from Clayton County is not going to make much of a difference on Delta's bottom line, but it will make a lot of difference in the lives of our children. And so,
and one of their pilots is from Jonesboro High School.
Jonesboro, well, we got to find who that one is. And today we did an article with the AJC, so you'll be seeing something in the newspaper in the upcoming days or so. They didn't tell me, Jada, when that article will be published. Okay, but it will have in it some action steps that we're asking of parents to put a little pressure, good pressure, on these entities that are pushing for this interpretation. Because we don't want to lose the money. And you say, what will happen if we lose the money? Bottom line is all the projects that we have in queue may not necessarily get done. We'll have to do some shifting, which means that something that we may have listed as needing done to get done may not get done until funds are available. That's just the reality. Okay? We will. Okay.
I have two questions.
Yes,
The
ma'am.
first, kind of staying on what you've just been talking about, the Aerotropolis. Have you heard that? Do we
Yeah.
have any idea how that's going to impact us? Hopefully in a good, positive way.
We've been going to the Aerotropolis meetings, if not myself, other members on staff. It's a little slow moving. But I think based on what I know and what I've seen, I think there's some potential there because it's a regional approach. I think there just needs to be some more time to allow it to figure out exactly what it's going to do as the Aerotropolis. But we're a part of those conversations. We sit on the education committees, and clearly we know that what we do in our school system directly impacts what happens in the region. So we're at the table, we're involved, we're just kind of moving at the pace that they're moving.
My second question has to do with, I've been getting some conflicting information about a concern that I have. And you and I have talked about it a little bit before, and that is on technology in elementary school level. What I was told at a meeting was one of the reasons that some scores were really low in 3rd and 5th grade was a lot of the children had no keyboarding experience, that they had no classes, that they had no laptops, etc. So that when they were taking the exams, which required them to use keyboarding, they would get down and finally give up and do Christmas tree picking, at the end, and where they had to write essays, to watch kids in a timed test pick and choose letters. That's a slow process, therefore grades were low. So my question was then, why aren't we building in keyboarding classes? Was there any way to do that? Was there any way for us to look at laptops? And I was told that there was not at that time. I have been told in another piece that yes, we could have that. So who makes that determination? How do 3rd graders who will be taking those tests next year, or the ones taking this year for that matter, how do we get keyboarding classes to them, have them be able to practice before they take those exams, especially since it really shows up on their scores?
Well, and I'll respond and I'll kind of toss it to our technology chief back there, Rod Smith. But in response to the first part of your question, do the keyboarding skills or lack of keyboarding skills significantly impact the testing outcomes? We don't have any research that would suggest that it significantly impacts those outcomes, but we have enough anecdotal experience to know that if kids can't type, it would be challenging to type an essay online. To that point, we've been moving to an online administration, 100% online administration. We're not at 100%, but we've been moving in that direction as a mandate of our state for a few years now. And a part of that, of course, would be that preparation would be, of course, to ensure that students are taught the standards. That, number 2, that they receive practice on taking online assessments. And so we've been using an online assessment platform throughout the year. Our students take teacher common assessments online, they take unit assessments online, they take benchmarks online. So they should be familiar with how to respond in an online platform. Relative to keyboarding, what we've discussed with the principals is this. The first year that they take a state test is third grade. Therefore, I need third graders to get priority in well before third grade, spending some time going through the computer labs, getting experience working with the keyboard, etc. And our schools are doing that for the most part. It may look different from school to school, but it should be done. And if it's not being done, that's a conversation that I would suggest that you have with Dr. Simpson, who's over school leadership, so we can see, and we can check with the principal to see if it's being done. Now, relative to the purchase of laptops, etc., the district, and Rod can talk about what we're doing district level relative to our digital refresh, classroom refresh. But always remember this, and no matter what we purchase at the district level with local funds, schools have Title I funds. And many schools, if not all of them, at some point, whether it be this year, the previous year, or next year, they can use those Title I funds to purchase additional laptops that they can use in their buildings.
And Dr. Beasley, just to add to that, we currently now have close to 35,000 laptops in the district, spread across the district in the different elementaries, middle schools. So it's really up to the principals to make sure that they're giving teachers there was a time when we thought those laptops were only going to be used for testing, and I think we got to a point where we were afraid to allow students to use them. Well, we've changed that now. So we're encouraging, and I know we have a principal here, and she can vouch for that fact that we really encourage them to take those in their carts. They come 30 or so, 32 in a cart. We have Chromebooks. We have over 10,000 Chromebooks. We're about to purchase an additional 7,000 or 8,000 additional Chromebooks. And I just saw come across my desk today, Title is looking at purchasing some additional laptops. So we have plenty of devices,
And they should be practicing now. But this is what I say, this is why parent engagement is so important. If you're at a school and you don't think that that's occurring, you got to give us a chance to be informed and allow us to respond to that. And we're going to engage with that school to see. Because we've been very clear. We even sent a communication out this year so everybody could get it in writing. We expect those laptop carts, whatever they are, to be utilized throughout the instructional day and not just the week before when students have to take a state test. Kids need to be very comfortable with the platforms. It should be second nature to them, and we know that that only occurs through experience. And that's a weekly, daily experience. And that's what we expect to see. Have we communicated that, Ms. Principal?
That's correct.
And if that's not occurring, we need to know why is it not occurring, where and why not. And I can assure you, Dr. Simpson and the assistant superintendents, they're going to find out. And, you know, I'll just leave it there. I could say more, but I'm going to leave it right there.
Let me go to one question. Actually, Dr. Beasley, I received 2 questions to present to you. One, can we talk more about Forest Park Middle School new building? Second, can we talk about cafeteria food, any upgrades, changing of the lunch menu, because we all know food is important.
Oh boy, 2 good conversations. I can say a little bit about Forest Park because that conversation, honestly, we just started talking about Forest Park Middle School, didn't we? As we were discussing North Clayton High School, and we had some feedback, and then it came up, well, should we look at a new North Clayton High School or a new Forest Park? So the question, which is the oldest? Who really needs the newest school? And what about the airport and the 6th runway? Should we build over there since we don't know what's happening there? And then we all agreed that maybe we should look at Forest Park. I hear it's, and what I've seen, it's one of the facilities that need a lot of attention.
Yes.
And so right now, once we get board support, you should know that that will be part of the SPLOST 6 referendum. And so we need you to go out there and take that clap and get us some votes. And now relative to the lunchroom, let me say this to you all. Our students, you all know I have a student advisory. How many kids we have in the student advisory? About 160, 200?
Masons came home and told me you guys talked about that new suit that just.
Oh, that's right.
He was excited.
Was it?
It was the
It was a soup. We had, as a matter of fact, our student advisory, was it yesterday?
Yesterday.
Well, I'm telling you, my week is just a blur. But we had a student advisory, and the first one we had, they shared that the food was a concern. And so we hired a chef in the district, and the chef goes around, trains the lunchroom managers, and shows the lunchroom managers how to basically prepare the food in a way that the students like it. And so the chef prepared for our students samples of some new menu items. And so they were able, yesterday, the student advisor, they were able to get everything that they offered, and then they were able to rate the food. And so some students have already reported that the chefs have been visiting their schools, and they can already taste the difference in the food, which is a good thing. And so we're using a variety of strategies, and I think what we'll do, I think I told Jada, we're going to do a combined advisory and a meeting, and I think what we'll do is also have the chef prepare something for the parents, so y'all can get a taste of the type things in the communities, to get a taste of the food that we're working. When we had the special ed university, DES parent university, remember that one? The chef was there, and he showed us how to even make French toast. It was delicious. I even told him, I said, I never thought of certain ingredients to make French toast. Very healthy, but very tasty. And so we just get the word out. Our students, I think they'll get the word out. We are working to improve that. And I know they enjoyed the food that they had the other day. I don't know what rated high and what rated low, but I can assure you that if it rated low, they won't see it again. So, but we're working on that. I think we're making some progress in that area. But you all know one thing about the school nutrition program, it's governed by the Food and Drug Administration, FDA. And this is the FDA or the agricultural something. It's one of those. And they have such strict guidelines with sodium, and you all know salt helps us with the taste, and so it's a balance. So that's why we got a chef to help us figure it out. And you know, I just remember days when I was in school when they actually made some real food. So we love lunchtime. Yeah, we were. And even now this week, the schools are having Thanksgiving dinners. I've visited, and we're encouraging parents to visit schools. They're doing Thanksgiving dinner. They've been doing it all week. So not on any one particular day. So very good. Anything else?
It's more of a statement than a question, but I'm happy to see the importance on relationship, because everything evolves around relationship, creating, building, and sustaining, and the mindset for families, for staff, that's what creates communities. And so when you get the relationship right, usually everything else falls into place. So it's really wonderful that there's a lot of importance on the relationships that are being built.
And that's important. You all know that's important. If you go into communities that people like to live in, what defines those communities? Strong relationships.
Let me go. So another one, and I'll come back to you.
Good evening. I just want to say thank you. This is our first year in the Clayton County Public School System. We've been very pleased. Our children attend Lake City Elementary School. The principal, the staff, everyone has been really great for us. They've made a wonderful transition to Clayton County Schools. I guess my question for you is, we're looking at the school choice program. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, we have a variety of choices. Magnet, we are still expanding those choices. And what I would encourage you to do is, we've got magnet schools, we've got some programs. What I would really encourage you to do is to just go online and go to our school choice link and just look at what we have. But know that what you see there, it doesn't include everything that we're going to do, because we really believe in school choice. My goal is at some point, I'd like kids to basically be able to just go to the school that they want to go to. that has the program that they'd like to. We're not there yet, but I think at some point we will get there. But we have, of course, at the secondary level, you know, you've got elite scholars, you've got Stillwell School of the Arts, you've got some magnet programs. You got a magnet program at Jones Lovejoy High School, computer science magnet program there. You've got a pharmacy magnet program at Morrow High School. You've got middle school programming. You got MD Roberts School of the Arts. You've got Jackson Elementary School of the Arts. You've got Unidos dual language program where the students can learn their content in Spanish and in English. You've got oh goodness, Rex Mills STEM.
Yes.
Rex, yes, see, I'm glad you said that. You've got STEM, Rex Mill. We are working. We've been meeting to expand STEM in our school system. And so you'll see more STEM. As a matter of fact, all of our courses right now, the instructional frameworks, are aligned to ensure that students are thinking at high levels, which is aligned with the STEM expectations that already exist in all of our schools. An area that I think we need to work on is ensuring that within all of the courses that we offer, that the teachers have the appropriate instructional resources to do those STEM activities. And as you know, you may not, but sometimes those resources are a bit more pricey than the non-STEM resources. So we're working to implement, phase in some resources in all of our schools that teachers can get training on and utilize to really encourage that STEM type thinking. Any programs that I overlooked, team? And I know I didn't say them all.
They added, from my understanding, they added the STEAM, right?
The STEAM, yeah, that's the Stillwell. That's just the art component, the art component of STEM. And we have several schools who are currently engaged in arts integration in their core content areas, and elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools. And so, just I would say go out there, look at the process, the application process. There are deadlines, there are lotteries, etc., and just take full advantage of that opportunity.
I have one statement, a request, and I have one question. The AP classes, there's a low passing rate, and my understanding is that the AP teachers are supposed to work with professors with the AP curriculum. I want to know, is Clayton County doing that? And then the request is, I've been on the school council of every school that my children have attended. And we had a very rigorous training this year, which was a little different, structured different. There was a focus on the power of the school council and trying to make the school council more active. And I can say that at Rex Mill, I was on the council that helped Rex Mill get the certification for the STEM program. We worked very diligently with Ms. Murner at the time. Can you guys kind of reinforce with the schools regarding how they can use the school council more rigorously? Because not all the schools were represented in the training. I don't know where that's going or what you see on your end, but I would just like your remarks on both of those.
I'll start with the school council, and school council is an expectation, and that requires principals and parents and all to understand the law that governs school councils and to ensure that it's followed. Our responsibility is to ensure that it's in existence in every school. If there's a school in which we have some school council dysfunction or issues, then we need to know about that. We expect school councils to exist in every school. And the principal's responsibility is, by law, is to be a member of that school council and to work with that school council toward continuous school improvement, period. We say, what is the power? You use the word power. The power is improving the school, period. And that's what we expect to see. To your first question about advanced placement and the gap, if you will, between our performance and even the state and national outcomes, I'll tell you this. This year, at the beginning of this year, we made a significant infusion of resources into our AP programs. Basically, as I studied the AP instructional situation, I learned that AP teachers were expected to teach AP history or AP English or Lit, but they didn't have the college level resources. I think that's a problem. So how do you teach AP World History and you're using a high school World History book? It's a different, I'm telling you, there's a difference. And so this year I had the AP coordinator and the content coordinators to go and identify resources, and our board approved for us to purchase those resources. We purchased those resources, and we're currently training teachers as they use those resources. In addition to your question about do we pair them up with college mentors, that's work that is ongoing in our school system. So we have access to Clayton State and others. They have mentors, they have partners, if you will. I think there's more that we can do relative to that, but that is on the radar. And so we anticipate we will see, I think we will see an increase in our AP outcomes just because of the work that we're doing right now to ensure that our students are getting that AP experience in the classroom. You should know, or you may know, that clearly the AP courses need to be taught as if they are college level courses. And so we're working to do that. That's not going to all happen in 1 year, clearly, but I think we're headed in the right direction. I'm very pleased with the work that we're doing right now, just this year, to improve those AP outcomes.
Any other questions?
Okay, well, thanks everybody for being here. Please enjoy the food. Stay piped in, tuned in to the website and to the email press releases as we have other events. We just thank you because we'll be counting on your feedback, your thoughts as we move our district to higher levels of performance. This is what it takes. And this team is committed to hearing you and to ensuring that every one of our students in this school system have access to quality instruction, quality leadership, and just a quality educational experience. That's what we're here for. Yes, ma'am. It's so good to see you.
Thank you. So, just with earlier, I just want to take a moment to just welcome.
Let me bring the mic to you. We're streaming live, so we want our community to hear your statement.
I just want to take an opportunity. I see Forest Park Mayor-elect just walked in.
Oh, there she. Y'all help me out. I don't know where she is. Is that who that is?
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
Wait a minute. I think I have her name here.
And so, yes, that is Forest Park Mayor-elect
Mayor-elect Angelina Butler. Come on up, Mayor-elect. Come on and say something. You are the elected leader.
Yes, I just wanted to say, so I met her a couple of months ago, and she's really working with the early childhood programs, and it looks like she's going to do great things with K-12, so love you, Angeline.
Well, so fitting for her. You want to just close us out. Welcome. Thank you for wanting to lead. And a good time.
Absolutely.
Good time.
But she's coming in.
I know.
Oh.
She hasn't been sworn in yet.
Oh, okay.
That will take place January 2nd at City Hall, so you all are welcome to attend. I'd be honored to have you present. A little bit about myself. I had my daughter when I was 14 years old. In that, I still managed to get my high school diploma, a bachelor's from Spelman, a master's from Troy University, and I am a doctoral candidate at Walden University pursuing my PhD in public policy and administration. And so in that, my daughter graduated from high school with honors, graduated with her bachelor's with honors, and she's currently in her master's program, as well as a member of the United States Air Force Reserves and a 4-time rugby national champion and an All-American. And so I say all that to say I value education to the utmost degree. And when I met you at Forest Park High School a few months ago, my question was, how can local elected officials assist you in assisting our youth, which is in turn assisting the community? And in that, that's what I mean, because I do understand the importance of an education, and as an elected official and someone who has struggled and understands the value of an education, I wanted to make sure that our youth can understand that and use my story as an example that no matter what your trials may be, your test will truly become your testimony. And I am a living proof of that. So my vow to you is to help in any way possible, if that means sitting at the table when it comes to our state officials and advocating for additional funding, or also just being present. I think sometimes our youth, they see the images of certain people on TV and that's all they have to aspire to. But seeing us and being able to touch us, they know that they can aspire to something different that may not have been on their radar prior to. So that is just my charge to you and to the community as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. Excellent. Well, that being all, thanks everybody. We appreciate all of you. We'll see you the next time, okay? Thank you.